Aloha friends, and welcome to today's video. Today is May 9th, and we've just had the moon move into Taurus. That's significant because in 2 days, on May 11th, we're going to have our new moon in Taurus. And then 2 days later, this is for all you nerds out there, 2 days later, we're going to have Jupiter on May 13th. He'll move into Pisces, and he'll remain in Pisces for roughly the next 2.5 months. He's going to go direct or station on June 20th, and then he'll go retrograde and he'll go back into Aquarius on July 28th, where he'll stay until he moves permanently into Pisces on December 28th and will continue onward. So if you want to go in more depth about the significance of this movement of Jupiter in your chart, you can contact me directly because it's more noticeable if you can recognize what house Pisces falls in your chart. This was just a little date update, so that if you notice certain watery things happen, expansive watery things around those dates, you'll know that it has something to do with the movement of Jupiter. So let me move back about half a step, I guess, to Taurus, the moon in Taurus. So who else is in Taurus right now? Well, of course, the sun, but also Uranus. So I want to talk a little bit about Uranus and the moon because the moon has a reflective quality and the sun has, this is where we do work. Okay, so before I get into Uranus, let me just flesh this out a little bit for you guys if you're not aware. The two main luminaries in our solar system today are the sun and the moon. Now, for the most part, if we as human beings want to do work, we need to do it during the day. We don't have eyes like a cat in the sense that we're not going out and doing all of our work in the moonlight. We do it during the day. And so wherever the sun is, that is where your work lies. You might not, depending on whether you were born during the day or born during the night, you might not even relate to your sun. Also, depending on what house the sun falls in, especially if you were born during the day, you might not relate to your sun. But if you look at where your work lies, that will correspond to the house that the sun falls in. Okay, so then we have the moon, which we recognize as ruling the tides, thus the emotions, and it also has a reflective quality. So wherever the moon falls in your chart or falls by transit, that is the area that we're reflecting upon. And so when we have a full moon, because the moon is fully illuminated, we can fully reflect, we can really have the full light of awareness with regard to whatever we're looking at in relationship to work, the sun, and contemplation, the moon. So when we have a new moon, this is an interesting relationship because the moon is conjunct or on top of the sun from our perspective. And so the moon is black. So there's some seeds being planted, right? If you followed my Transit Watch series, you know that I call the new moon a seed planting time. Well, that's because you put the seed in the dark, down in the soil. And so there's this kind of a different kind of reflection because you can't see in the same way. The reflective quality is more mysterious. And we're talking about Taurus, but we're talking about Uranus in Taurus. So Uranus is an interesting planet because today, modern astrologers often associate Uranus with electricity, eccentricity, revolution, epiphany, perhaps. I mean, it is the backwards spinning planet, but isn't Venus kind of a backwards spinning planet too? Venus is the ruler of Taurus, right? Okay, so I've been watching these documentaries on the Electric Universe Model, and according to the Electric Universe Model, Venus is the youngest planet in our solar system. Mars, Earth, and Venus are all siblings and the children of Saturn, according to the Electric Universe model. And so I've really come to this own sense within myself due to some powerful dreams that I've been having lately. And we won't get into the details, but I will give you the interpretation of one of the most powerful ones. Is if you know me, you know that I've done a lot of physical cleansing, taking care of my physical body, Taurus. And this dream indicated to me that I don't really need to focus on the cleansing as much, and what I need to shift, not that I don't want to fall off the horse, fall off the bull, the bull plowing through the fields. I'm not going to just let him wander around and turn my fields into mud, just stomping around, right? So where was I? My dream. It doesn't need to be my focus. It's still absolutely an important part. Saturn. We are the children of Saturn, the god of agriculture. It's still important to be taking care of the fields. This is my field. This is the field that I have been born into in this lifetime. So my dream was that instead of cleansing being my focus, nurturing and allowing my inner child to express herself more, it should be my focus, or shall be my focus. And so considering that Venus is the youngest planet in our solar system, that was just to me like, oh, this is perhaps some of the revolution that I'm experiencing with regard to having Taurus, Uranus and Taurus. And so now that the moon is moving into Taurus and we're having a new moon, especially, I'm having a different type of reflection, and I'm not really sure what it's going to look like. What is it going to look like in 6 months when we have the full moon in Taurus? This seed planting that I'm doing with, okay, I'm going to nourish and nurture and express my inner child more, and I'm going to continue taking care of my physical body as I have. I just don't need it to be my focus. So I'm having this revolution of I'm moving to the next step. And well, we'll see what happens during my contemplation, my continued contemplation of this electric universe model, because I've always looked at Taurus as this like step by step, one thing at a time kind of a sign, fixed and thus stubborn. However, with really looking at this electric universe model and going more into plasma and thunderbolts, an interesting one because I would say modern astrologers tend to associate electricity, thunder, well, lightning, with Uranus, but Orthodox Greek and Roman mythology, I would say, associates that with Jupiter. I mean, there's still a lot of cartoons and stories and pictures out there with Jupiter or Zeus wielding the thunderbolt. However, according to the mythology that's being shared through these ThunderboltProject Electric Universe documentaries that I've been watching, it really talks about Mars or Aries, depending on whose system you want to use. But I really like these documentaries because I tend to focus on the Greek and Roman names because that's what I'm familiar with the most. But if you watch some of these videos, I can put I'll put a couple of the documentaries in the description if you want to nerd out. They're each about an hour and a half long. So I'll just put like 2 or 3 of them, and talks a lot about Mars also having electricity and the scarring on the physical planet Mars and the scarring in the mythology of Mars, all due to thunderbolts. So lots to think about and lots to tend, because as I said, this is a time for planting seeds, and that means the seeds need some extra watering in the beginning so that they can take root. So have patience, dear ones. The eclipse is coming in a month, and we'll go over that soon enough. Mahalo.